Yo, good evening. How we doing? All G? All right. Let's get into it. It's going to be very chill, very relaxed. Just drawing and painting this evening. Answering questions, all of that. Yeah, just needed to reset and do some stuff on stream that's a bit more chill, relaxed, in my comfort zone. I've just been really busy. I just don't have the energy right now to do anything like big. So yeah, I've got a sketch that I started the other night. I was like, yeah, well, we'll work on that, and it should be fun, a bit more entertaining than the last few streams have been. Too much to concentrate on. So yeah, we're gonna do that. I was heading for a bit of a burnout, so just dialing it back. Well, yeah, looking forward to getting into it anyway. Asta, yo, what we doing today? You're about to see. Sarah, I hope you're doing good. I'm doing good, thank you. I hope you are also doing great. So let's jump in. I got old paintings that slap. I got a doozy. I got a slapper. Got a real good one for you. Today we have The Good Samaritan by Amy Nicholas Moreau. Le Bon Samaritain. This painting is basically like life size. It's huge, and as you can see, it is the Big J chilling on a donkey with the Good Samaritan. But the reason I love this painting is because of how amazing the anatomy, but the feeling of weight and the bones under the skin. Like there is just something so well described here. The weight in the figures, the deformation of the figures, especially Jesus here leading over the Samaritan. Like the anatomy is just incredible on this. I've got a kind of a bit more of a painting where you can see the details, because unfortunately this is very blurry. It doesn't quite give the impression, but this one obviously has a lot of glare, but you can see just how crisp it is, and just how well described the anatomy is. It's a real doozy. Beautifully painted, and yeah, just kind of unmatched really in the sort of visceral feeling of the anatomy here. If I had a bit more time, I'd dig around and find some better pictures overall, but trust me when I say these knees are incredibly painted. Yeah, the whole thing is amazing. Really worth having a look at online to see if you can find any decent photos. Like I said, this one gives a better impression of how it is overall, but I don't think you'll find any better painted skin and kind of realistic feeling to weight, and I don't know, just like the coloring, local hues in the skin, everything. You'd be hard pushed to find one that is up there as this one, in my opinion. So yeah, this is today's old painting that slaps. Check it out. All right, so we go. That's that. Now let's get that crap out of the way. What are we going to work on today? So I started this sketch the other day, I was where are we at? Yeah, wanted to come up. I was just sketching on my lunch break, coming up with some poses, and I'm just bringing up a reference so you know who this character is. But this character is Atom Eve from Invincible. Very simple kind of outfit this character has. But yeah, I just I wanted to do something simple. I wanted to do something within my comfort zone. I started this sketch the other day. I even started putting it into color and stuff, and then I was like, do you know what? I can do this on stream and it will be yeah, and it will be like a nice chill thing to do. So this is the character. Let's actually grab this, and that can sit in here in case we need to reference it. So yeah, this was my kind of initial scribble, and then kind of lowered the opacity on this. This is how things go for me. I'm a scribbler. Lowered the opacity on this, do another kind of scribble to work things out, and then then the opacity will get lowered on both of these. It's a bit like kind of rubbing stuff back, and then start going in. I don't know why putting in tones on this, and I was like, Alex, stop it. And then we go lower the opacity on all of this one more time, and this is where I'm currently at with the line work. So I thought I would continue a little bit more on the line work to begin with, and then yeah, I have some flat colors here which I might alter a little bit, and we'll just work on this. So nice and chill, nice easy thing to be doing on stream today. Yeah, so much that I can answer questions, and yeah, just get back to something that's a little bit more easy for me to handle on stream. It's been good, you know, doing a bit of 3D and, you know, doing the 360 sketching and all of that kind of stuff. And I do intend to do the 360 stuff. I just need to have the energy for it. And yeah, I think also I realized that I do need to put some more time into my drawing. And you know, the stream's meant to be sort of a fun thing for me and a relaxing thing for me, and doing stuff on stream that I have to concentrate on so much doesn't make it a very nice experience for me, and also it's not a great kind of viewing experience when I'm unable to like talk and interact with chat properly and all of that. So I think I was just putting a bit too much pressure on myself to do things on stream that actually probably better done, you know, by myself, until I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, I could show this on stream and make a real effort with it. So there you go. Those are my thoughts. Patrick Zigart, hey, it's looking awesome, so dynamic. Thank you. Yeah, I chose this character. She's very, very simple in design. So, you know, for all intents and purposes, she's just a person. she's just a person. There's nothing like crazy about the outfit or anything like that. So I thought it's just something relaxing to do. So yeah, I'm going to do a bit more on the line work, as I probably will use some of the line work in the overall finish, and just refine this a little bit. And then, you know, get into color, do a bit of painting, whatever, see what's going on with you guys. And yeah, line work is something that I need to be doing a bit more of, to be honest. I want to get much better at it than I currently am. And I just need to put in a bit more practice, really. I've been looking at a lot of comic artists, pencilers, and so on. And yeah, I'd really love to acquire, the skills and the confidence that these comic artists have when it comes to drawing figures and so on. So I'm going to be doing a lot more of that going forward. Get back in the sketchbook, That's the one I used to, sketch in my sketchbook all the time. I do sometimes go back to it, and I'll have like a few months where I'm like really intense. Let's do a sketchbook again. And then it kind of fades off. And see myself getting back into the sketchbook again, and doing some more of that. It is fun. It's just, it takes time. Everything takes time. It's kind of the one thing I just never seem to have. Oh, close to finishing my sketchbook. Nice. I've got a sketchbook on the go at the moment. I bought a few of the same sketchbook because I really like them. I know, yeah, I've been doing my life drawings in that sketchbook. I don't know if they'll show up on camera, actually. I'll grab my sketchbook and we'll see. I draw really lightly at life drawing because I use a mechanical pencil, so you can see it in person, but I don't know how well it's going to show up on the camera. Let me just grab it. I'm in the phase where I'm redoing spreads to make it look all fancy. Yeah, nice. So I bought this sketchbook a while ago. I had to get it though because it's Howl's Moving Castle, and it's like embossed in the front, and it's got this really nice texture. But yeah, I thought this was sick. So I got this in Amsterdam last year, I think, when I was over there for work. And then subsequently I bought like a few more of these because I'm like, oh, they're actually really nice to draw in there. But let's see if I can find some drawings that are not so light that they don't show up. I don't know, I'll just turn some pages in front of the camera, I guess. Okay. Hang on. I can't see the thing now. Anyway, I'll figure out some lighting and whatnot, and we can do a little sketchbook tour thing because I've got a bazillion of them. I'll show you through them. They're not so best on this Sketchbook. Yo, Alex, we're in Amsterdam. Yeah, so there's a place called the American Bookstore in Amsterdam. Really, really cool. And yeah, they've got all sorts of graphic novels and stuff in there. Really good sci-fi collection. But they also have like a section of, sketchbooks and the like. And yeah, I got that one there. And then I found them at another place here in the UK. So I got a few more of those because they're really nice to draw in. It's like sometimes it's hard to find like a sketchbook that has like a paper that you like and everything. So I was like, I'll just buy a few of these up, and then I've got them. Just believe me, Mel, this blank page is amazing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the American Bookstore in Amsterdam. Yeah. Oh, hang on, I'm not. Can't see me drawing. Yeah, the American Bookstore in Amsterdam. Yeah, it's good. I'll be there again in next month, actually. So I'll probably pick up a few more. Makes you want to go back into the sketchbook. Nice. Yeah. I'm gonna go. There is a Concept 101 meetup. Not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. In London at the Imperial War Museum. So I'm gonna go along there, take the sketchbook, do some drawing, draw some like war vehicles and all that. Yeah, and just hang out with people, chat shop, So yeah, if anyone's in London on the 16th, Concept 101 meet up at the Imperial War Museum. I think it's from midday. Yeah, I'll be there, so come along, say hi, do some sketching. There's always a good bunch of people at these meetups. And yeah, it should be a nice day. And then I think, I don't know, maybe we'll go to the pub afterwards or something for a little bit. But yeah, like I said, if y'all in London, come along. Yeah, I think I walked right past it. Yeah, it's I can't think of the street names off the top of my head. But yeah, it is on kind of like a main thoroughfare, so it's quite likely that you walked past it at some point. Great place. Hey Alex, hey everyone. Yona, what's up? She making this way too complicated. Simplify. Yeah, I was headed to the Rijks from the train station. Unfortunately, I was in a bit of a rush, but the Rijks was amazing. Yeah, Rijks Museum is lovely. It's really good. I'm going back there when we go. Yeah, really nice. They got some Frans Hals there. maybe the Franz Hals exhibition is currently still on. Went to the Rijks last year and got to go back this summer. Yeah, nice. I hit the Tulip Gardens and the Rijks in one day. I was there only a few weeks ago. Insane time management. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. There's lots to see, especially if you're not there for long. Yeah, I've been there a few times. I should be back there again. Well, I'm back there in June, but maybe again later in the year as well. Good stuff. I'm thinking next year Tulip Gardens for sure. Longer stay at the Rijks and just explore Amsterdam a bit. Yeah, if you get the chance to go to Noord. So if that's the river and this is like central, you know, with all the canals and shit, the Noord is like here. You can get the free ferry from Central Station across the river, and you just go a little bit north. But this area over here where the docks are, there's graffiti museum. There's like big warehouses that have got all sorts of like small artist galleries inside of, really nice little cafes, bars, that kind of stuff. But it's all like, you know, very makeshift and like they're not like real shops or anything. They're all sort of artist run, and yeah, they've got really cool stuff up there. And they got the street art museum. Yeah, it's sick up in Noord. Definitely worth going back to. This hand is huge. Went there before I attended the coffee festival, and they have some radical stuff. Yeah, definitely go Noord. Daisy and I stayed in Noord last time that we were in Amsterdam, and yeah, it was really nice, really cool. Reminded me a lot of the sort of area that I'm in London. Like 10 or 12 years ago, where it was a lot more sort of art community vibes. Which sadly isn't as much like that anymore, but yeah, they got it going on up in Noord. All right, you want the top tip? Yeah, take an easel. Do it. So my here you go, little Heath's tips. For drawing hands. Okay. This is how I remember it. Okay, you want to draw a square. and you want to draw a triangle like this that has its peak about a third of the way through the square, like this. And you want to do another one on the side, same thing. And you want the shortest side next to the longest side. All right. What this outlines is basically the base for the hand, right? And this is how I will draw hands in kind of any orientation, is to think of this arrangement first and then to go from here. Reason being, this triangle is where I'd build the thumb off of. If you think of your hand, let's open the camera up. If you think of your hand like this, yeah, and your thumb is like a door that opens and closes, like a gate. And that's what that triangle is representing. So the edge of the square is here, okay, and this is the triangle. And then similarly, the top of the square is here, and you have the triangle on top. And what the triangle represents here is the second knuckle. So if I keep turning the camera off. You see how this knuckle here is higher than this one. They go up to this one, and they go down. So if I go back to Photoshop, this is my little shorthand for drawing hands, right? So you have your knuckles like this on the hand, and then obviously your fingers come off of these. All right. So if I want to draw like a hand that's foreshortened, for example, I think of these things first. This square portion, in 3D, you think of like this, right? The other thing that I like to do with this is that, like the hand is curved through the underside, you can curve this. So, you can think of this shape. So what I like to do when I'm drawing hands is to construct them this way, and that way I can figure out how they should look in space. So for example, if I want a hand that's coming towards the camera, okay, something like this. On here, I have my triangle. On here, I have my triangle, like this. This is where I will construct my thumb. And then I know here that this is going to be the furthest knuckle out, and so on. So that I can do, something like this in space. And that gives me a kind of my rough thing for a hand. So if I want to draw a hand in a different orientation, the very first thing for me to do is to construct the square, is to construct the knuckles, that little door for the thumb, and then place my knuckles on there. And again, go from here with placing the fingers. There's something else I can show you about the fingers as well. So that's my little shorthand, and I'll just construct them this way. As with most things, you get familiar enough with this that you can do a lot of this construction in your head before you even put stuff down. So you see here, this would be my square. This would be that triangle. I've actually got that triangle on there. And you see on this one, similarly, thinking about the square, I have the triangle, and then the other one is really flat behind there. And that's my kind of shorthand, if you like. Now there's things like that we sort of pick up over time from different books and like life drawing and stuff like that, where you sort of simplify things down. And I think becoming proficient at drawing anatomy is memorizing all of your shorthand for different things and putting them together. And you need to do a lot of drawing to build up that shorthand and become like really familiar with what it means for you. And there are certain things that I like find difficult within figure drawing that I need to come up with better shorthand for, and then I can remember, But things like hands, that stuff has been in my mind for years, so it helps. But things like how the shoulders sit on the rib cage, that's one I need to figure out like a better shorthand for, because it does get a bit squirrely for me at points. But yeah, what I was going to say with the fingers, what I tend to remind myself of is this: your finger is in 3 sections, right? Like this with your nail. Beautiful. So what I tend to do is each section, if I split the bottom section of the finger into 3, okay, and this is the hand end of it, and this is the first knuckle. If I split this into 3, this distance, so 2/3 of it, becomes the distance for the next portion, okay? And then if I split this into 3, this distance, so again 2/3, becomes the top portion. So that's where my knuckles go on here. So you split each section into 3, you take 2/3 of it, and that becomes the next section. And you do that again, and that becomes the next section. And this is quite helpful to remember when you are foreshortening a finger, right? So you got a finger coming into space like this, and I'm going to split that, and then take that, put that, split that, take that, and add, and so on. So just again, a little shorthand to remember. It's going to help you. JG Meads, thanks for the follow. Thanks for showing that I'm struggling to draw hands on hips at the moment due to fingers overlapping and hiding some of the box of the palm. Need more practice. Yeah, and what's helpful is to say, look at a photo of a hand in a particular pose, and then do your construction of your shorthand over the top. Well, let's just do that. So you know what I mean. And this way you can just get familiar with like how your shorthand translates into real life. And this is essentially what you're doing at life drawing, right? Okay, so my shorthand is going like this. For something like this, and then if I look at it from the side here, like this. So when I look at a hand, in real life, I look at these points and I'm like, okay, this knuckle, and that's where I start to construct these things from, and so on. So when I'm at life drawing, and the model does a pose with the hand, or they're holding onto something, I'm not looking necessarily at the hand in all of its detail. I'm looking at, there's a pole that they're holding, and I'm trying to see, first of all, where my square is. Like, where is that? So for example, I might only see it here because she's holding it on there. So if I was to draw it through, it'd be something like this. So then I'm like, okay, where's my triangle for the thumb? That's here. Where's my triangle for the fingers? That's here. I could put my knuckles on like this. I can put the thumb coming around the thing like this, and then, you know, construct my fingers. And that helps me orientate things. So I construct things based on what they look like, but you need to know like where this falls on the body. And that's something, like I said, you can practice this way. But it's always coming up for shorthands with things, and you just have enough of these shorthands built up in your mind that you can do that kind of construction. You know, there's certain things, like I said, that I don't have good shorthand for. You know, for example, you have your rib cage, and then you sort of have the shoulders that sit in that. Now, I can quite often mess this kind of thing up, where the shoulders appear in the wrong place around the body, and they don't connect properly to the body. Because you know, the shoulder can move, the pectorals can move, that kind of a thing. So it's a little harder for me to like have a definitive shorthand for this. I think, you know, one thing a lot of people tend to talk about is finding the suprasternal notch, you know, the pit of your neck basically, and then locating the collarbones from that, and then, you know, from the orientation of the collarbones you can tell, okay, you know, this shoulder's going back, this one's coming forward, for example. I just need to do more with that to sort of figure out where those things are in space for me. And then obviously comes into it stylization and exaggeration and that kind of a thing. And where, you know, you break some things, you exaggerate some stuff. But that's, I think, how your sort of style comes through as well when in figure drawing, is your style is essentially the shorthand that you use to depict, you know, real life. And it is also it's also been said, like, it's the mistakes that you leave in, you know, so certain things you might make sharper or more rounded, or you know, anything like that, and they are stylizations from real life, right? And so you could call them mistakes, but they're the things that you decide to leave in because you like them. They're aesthetically pleasing to you in one way or another, or they describe a shape in a way that you like, and that becomes your style, you know, the things you leave in. So yeah, it's your shorthands. It's the way that you remember how to draw things in orientation, you know, in some way feeds into how they look, you know. Artists always have a different interpretation of like how to draw a hand. You know, some people have very definitive ways that they draw knuckles, for example. some people draw anatomy in very different ways, accentuate certain angle breaks more than others, and so on. Like I tend to do this kind of sharper angle break for certain things that aren't necessarily like that in real life. Well, they're not like that in real life, but all of that becomes part of your style eventually, and it will happen by accident. Really, I wouldn't. Even if you desperately try and seek a style, you will just, by virtue of you being you and how you process information and your ability to copy and all of that kind of stuff, you will invariably just end up with your own way of doing things. Even if I'm copying something, for practice, I can't copy it exactly. I can give it my best go, but ultimately I'm going to have differences and a bias towards things looking a certain way, and maybe a bit of muscle memory takes over at a certain point, and I'm never going to be able to exactly copy it. So my style is going to come through whatever. I mean, in some ways, your style is literally like a physical thing. How well can you make the mark? How well can you control the pressure of the stroke, and so on. All those things become the style, right? I don't think it's something you ever need to worry about. You will invariably do things in your own style. You can't not. You can't unbecome yourself, I mean, sure, you can copy the way that someone else does something enough times that you pick up a lot of the hallmarks of that style, for sure, but you're still never going to be exactly the thing that you're copying. Later on, for example, if you want to be like a lead or a principal artist and you're working in outsourcing or something like that, yes, you're going to have your own style. That's a given. But you're also going to have to develop the understanding on how to adopt and work in other styles for different projects, and so on. And so you develop a kind of a bit more of an understanding of like, what does this artist do differently to this artist that makes this style so specific? And being able to sort of look at stuff and break that down, like how are they simplifying things? How are they not simplifying things? What flows do they have? Do they make connections between certain shapes? Do they construct things in a way that makes their work have a certain shape to it, and so on? All of that becomes quite interesting. Where are we at? Yeah. But yeah, I think ultimately, don't worry about style. you've already got one. And like, it might need nurturing for sure, but that just comes from experience, I think. Like, you already have your own style. Like I said, the filter in which all of the information you look at and perceive is already going through you. So there is a style in there already. You know, the things you like, the things you find aesthetically pleasing, etc. You know, your physical limitations of what you yourself can actually do. All of that stuff is already in there. And the more you draw and paint and, you know, look at your influences and all that kind of stuff, you know, the more certain things are going to bubble up and come to the surface. And you will just naturally evolve a style over time as you grow, and it will change. It will keep changing, you know. And certain projects will like shape your style. You know, my style has changed over the years because of projects that I've been on, and like the style that I'm working in changes. You know, I used to paint things a lot more like realistically, for example, and now much more sort of simplified and so on. And yeah, just things change over the years. Your style evolves with you and your tastes. Alright. So I want to adjust the flats that I made. I'll probably want to keep a certain amount of this line work kind of in here anyway, so. By the way, I do have the YouTube chat open as well if people prefer watching on YouTube, or you are watching on YouTube. I do have the chat open today, so I can take questions from there. Tell you what, it does feel much better doing stuff like this on stream, where I'm actually able to chat a bit more and so on. It's much more comfortable for me. Beautifully energetic. Well, well, well. I'm going to be doing a lot more line work. I want to, well, it's just something I want to sink more time into, really. because I really do love like flow and connection in paintings, and I think I can achieve it quite well in a painting. But I'd like to be able to achieve it a lot more in the drawings as well. More so in real life than digitally. Like digitally, you can draw over stuff as many times as you want, really. I tend to have less of that mindset in paper and pencil. I'm watching a lot of like comic artists drawing, and they kind of just treat the paper like it's digital. They don't really have too many like hang-ups about scribbling, rubbing it out, scribbling, rubbing it out, or like rubbing something back and going again. They're much more like looser and stuff overall with it, and I like that, and it shows in their work obviously because their work's sick. But yeah, it's definitely, I'd like to get to that kind of place. And I was saying to my work colleagues, but like I think when I was more actively drawing in my sketchbook, over the years, I think my drawing has just not got worse. I just out of practice, Like I'm sure the skill is still in there, but yeah, my sketchbooks from a few years ago are way better than my current sketchbook. Just better rendering, more confidence, and so on. I just kind of got out of practice, and then that has resulted in like less confidence in my line work, and then, well, you know how that goes. You have less confidence in artwork, that's the death knell, isn't it? It's over once the confidence goes. May as well pack it up. I'll be heading off for the evening. Thanks for the stream. I'll see you around. Yeah, take care, Cookie. Thanks for dropping in. I will catch you soon, my dude. Right. Let's continue. Just get this flat stuff out of the way. Oh, I seem to have... You shouldn't be there. Hey, yo. Jesse Montloop. Thank you for the follow. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Welcome to the stream. What am I doing here? I'm going mad. I'm going mad. Madder. There we go. I got confused which side of the shape I was lassoing out. Got boggled. I've been boggled. Right, almost finished with the flats. This is ultimately the most boring part of any illustration. Pen tooling out the flats. And before you say, why don't you use the lasso? Shut up. Lasso's for kids, all right? Adults use the pen tool. How dare you? I mean it. I mean it. I deeply mean it. Art of Victor Ballen. Listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate the comment. I ultimately don't know how to answer people with that kind of level of compliment. It's a bit awkward. But I appreciate it. Let's see. Just find some different music. I had to give a presentation on how I paint recently. I used a lasso, but I gave a shout out to you for the pen tool recommendation in the clip lighting layers method. That's what we're talking about, Sarah. At least you're acknowledging the pen tool. Listen, it's okay, you know, if you can't use it, you know, it's not, you'll get there. But it is the far superior tool. What? Tell me about this presentation. It sounds fun. It was a demo breakdown on how I made some card art. I had to wear a mic on my face and talk on stage with a PowerPoint presentation. It was terrifying, but I did my best. Oh, damn, that is terrifying. Well done. Well done for that. Yeah, that sounds cool. I always find with that kind of stuff, the first like 30 seconds is hell. And then you just kind of relax and you're like, okay, no, I got this. I got this. But yeah, well done for doing it. Yes, the moment I gave up trying to use my notes, I was okay, but that's enough social interaction for a month. Yeah, for real. I did a talk at Playgrounds last year, and yeah, it was a full room. And it was quite nerve-wracking in the beginning, but yeah, once I was on stage as well, I realized that I actually couldn't really see anyone in the crowd because the lights were like in my face. So that actually made it a lot easier because I was like, I literally can't see anyone. So there could be no one in this room as far as I'm concerned. You know, some people like say you should imagine everyone in the room naked. I'm like, well, that's not really going to help, is it? Now I'm in a room full of naked people and I'm dressed and I don't know why they're naked. You know what I mean? I'm like, this doesn't help the anxiety of the situation. If I like stood up to do a talk and everyone was naked, I'd be like, okay, hi. I think I'm in the wrong building. I'm like, I'm here to talk about composition. Yeah, but I was given that advice a few times. You know, like different people, different situations, people have said that. I'm like, what is this? What is this advice? It's, you know, how actually terrifying that would be. Yo, Castonia, how you doing? It's been a while. This is looking nice. Thank you very much. All right, let's drop. Boom, background, done. It's not done. like I said, I had started this before and got it to a certain point and was like, let's follow up with it. So I'm going to keep something like this. Doing decent, TY. How are you doing? How's the arting going? Arting is good. We're doing all right. Different workflow? No. Same old. Got line work. Got line work here. Just done the flats. I'm now just about to drop a multiply layer on here. Like this. Like so. And yeah, basically I'm gonna just start working on it. So I've got this multiply layer. I'm going to add, again, a linear dodge add layer for the lighting. Double click the layer, unclick transparency shapes, boom. And what I want is to have, and I'll do the lighting, right? So you'll see that. But I want to have this very like strong backlight, you know, a rim light. So let's rough that in, and then we'll do the sort of other light sources that I want in here. But yeah, obviously this character is from a comic, right? So, but I'm just gonna render this as if, well, this is a bit more in my like style, but I guess as if it was like a comic cover rather than like a comic, an internal illustration. And yeah, I want this really strong, like, light from the top on her, very graphic. So it's going to have this nice, like, flat shape to it. Let me just quickly hit save, just in case Photoshop crashes. And we will come back and refine this this light shape. I'm just putting it on here because it's important to key your values whenever you are jumping into color or in black and white. But if you're jumping into lighting, let's say, that's probably more what I should say. If you're jumping into lighting, you need to key your values at the beginning. And that way, the values that you decide, you know, in your shading, in your shadows, etc., they need to all be based off of each other. And if you don't have all the information there, as in they're not keyed, then you're going to make certain value decisions that are then not going to work properly later on when you introduce other things. So what do I mean by keying your values? You need to describe and put into your image the lightest light and the darkest dark. And that way you can key the other value relationships off of those so that you know they're all going to work. If you do your illustration and you don't put in your brightest and darkest values in the beginning and you start to describe values in the illustration, your midtones and etc., they are not going to be in the proper relationship to the darkest darks and the lightest lights if you add them later, and therefore your whole value structure is going to get thrown off. And at worst, some things are going to be kind of muddy for that reason. At best, you might end up with some like muddy transitions. At worst, you're going to really undo the effect of your lighting, and it's going to look like things are either not lit or the surface color is different, and so on. So even if you're not going to, like I'm not going to render my lights right now, I'm just putting in this light, but I know I want to have it like blown out to white. Even though I'm going to work on it later, I need to have it here so I can base the rest of my value decisions off of it. Okay, and I will work on like the exact shapes and all of that later. But I need it there to base things off of. Because it's important. Got to key your values. Got to key those values, man. So now I am masking through my shadow layer to bring back the color of the flats through here, and this is going to be my sort of secondary light source. That's going to light the figure, and it's going to be a kind of diametrically opposed lighting, which is just a fancy way of saying it's coming from both sides. But it's always good. It's always good to be fancy. Pull out the big word, If you're talking to the client and they're like, "So what's the lighting situation going to be?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm going to go for something diametrically opposed." Then you sound like you know what I mean. And in doing that, I've actually messed this up, so I didn't mask it, did I, Alex? Number one rule. Let's do this again. Am I going to be playing the Invincible fighting game? Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't played a fighting game in a little while. I got pretty into like Mortal Kombat 11 when that was out, or 10. I think it was 11. I haven't played one since. I do like a fighting game. I never play them enough though to really like memorizing combos is really not fun for me. But I do like playing them with Daisy. Daisy's an insane button masher, but her like inputs per second are so insane with the button mashing that she actually does decently well against me. So if I like learn combos and Daisy button mashes, I'm like, the fuck? Get bodied. But yeah, I might give the Invincible fighting game a little go. I do like Invincible. Are you gonna play it, Castonian? Might give it a try, but I'm basically a button masher as well. Yeah, I am too. I try and learn a few things combo wise, but yeah, like I said, I don't play online or anything, so you know, who cares? Who cares? Yes, we are going to have critique streams soon, very soon. This weekend I'm away. I have a tournament, but then I have much more free time coming up after that. So I'll get a date in, and we will have another critique stream soon, very soon, and I will put it in the Discord and all of that. As well, so no one will miss it. But yeah, a few people have asked. We will have one. It's also my kind of favorite streams to do as well. It's good. I like seeing what you guys have been up to. I'm nosy. Nosy like that. Exciting. I've been having a lot of tech issues, so might not get to share, but we'll definitely watch. Oh, sure thing. And no worries. I'm like, we're still talking about a couple of weeks away until then, anyway, because got to get this weekend out of the way, and then. But yeah, like I said, we will get one booked in soon. It's a date, as they say. So I'm just putting some like local coloring on the skin here that sort of sits underneath the multiplier layer. If you remember when we did the head, this is kind of one of those steps, you know. Local coloring in. And yeah, I'm going to leave like some amount of line work in the final image here, so it doesn't need to be like super detailed, but I got really dark. What's going on? Where are we at for time? We got plenty of time. All right. Nice. All right, so let's get another linear dodge add layer going on here. We can introduce a little bit of kind of like bloom, I guess. But I want to do some kind of magic thing with the hands, right? Atom Eve's got some powers. And we'll pick up on these colors a little bit later. Random question. Would you use your normal workflow and lighting layer setup if you were aiming for a classic academic painterly style, like the old paintings that slap? Yeah, that is a good question. If I was doing something like that, for example, I would probably be a bit more direct in my approach, in the same way that those paintings are done a bit more directly. So what I mean is, I would probably look to work in, in a more direct way, like painting colors on normal layers on top of each other and building up the painting in a way as if it was actually a painting in real life. I think if you're trying to mimic, direct, you should be direct, and so on. Like this stuff that I'm doing here, like works well when you want to have like dynamic lighting and you don't ultimately know what it is that you want to do in the beginning, but gives you a kind of a sandbox to sort of figure it out and a way to build up to like full color and whatnot. But yeah, I think if you were aiming to be a bit more direct in the approach and like copy a real painting, I would be direct in that and try and mimic it in the same way. You will get better results, I think, doing it that way. Hey, yo, Richard, what's up? I didn't see you sneak in there. You're sneaky. Sneaky snake. All right, let's bust out another multiply layer. JHBMRE. Thanks for the follow. That makes sense. Super helpful to hear the difference. Yeah, I think, with anything like that, I think if there is a certain way that things are done and you're aware of it and you're, making a copy or a study of it, you're going to get the most out of it by doing it in the manner in which it was previously done. I think you'll find the most success in that way. I've done like sergeant studies in the past and been, very careful to try and do it in the way that it would be done in oils, doing a little bit of a sort of an underdrawing and then building up from like the middle tones out to the darks and then up to the lights and so on. And the end result being like a lot closer to that. For example, let me show you. I will bring up a little breakdown that I did. On like a step-by-step study thing that I did. And this was a breakdown that I made for students that I was teaching when I was at the London Atelier of Representational Art. But yeah, essentially was doing a copy of this Sargent portrait and building it up in the same manner in which he describes painting these things. So this is building up just with normal layers, being very direct, very opaque about those things. So I can put that link in the chat for you. You can have a look. But yeah, you get much better results doing it that way than you would doing it the way that I'm doing it right now. Yeah, and like with something like Sergeant like that, you know, I've seen people do like a portrait study of a Sergeant painting, but they won't approach it in the same way that he appears to paint things, where it's like it's very much like a one sitting approach of building up the planes of the head, and you know, building up the value and so on, and it's all in an end to try and keep the painting as like fresh looking as possible and get that kind of alla prima sort of look to it. And the thing is, like, he would paint things, and if he didn't like them at the end of the session, he'd scrape them off, and then next session you'd be starting again, reblocking the head, and so on. You know, the way that those paintings look is completely down to the way it's painted, right? And this idea of trying to retain freshness in the execution and get the style, you know, well, I mean, I say to look like it's painted in one session, but like the head would basically be painted in one session. It just might take 5 or 6 sessions to get the right head. Do you see what I mean? And I would see people start them with like a very careful drawing and then build them up over a few days and paint them and stuff. And you're just like, you're not going to achieve the look by not doing the thing. There is a way, there is a process to the way it looks, you know. let's try this bit again, shall we? I was talking about freshness, you know, and it got me thinking, it's not fresh enough. There we go. This is more where we want to be. Trying to remember little bits of little areas and such that I saw on like Alex Garner's work that I'm like, ooh, yeah, that's the kind of freshness we're talking about. Like I said, there's going to be some like magic and stuff. Which is not magic. Whatever Atome's power is. Atomic power. It's magic. It's space magic for all intents and purposes. Around the hands, so they're going to make the arms kind of glow. But it's not done until it's glowy. Yeah, exactly. I know, and she's got normal eyes right now as well, so. You know, 10 minutes before the painting's done, I'm going to be like, do you know what? her eyes need to glow. Okay, but it would be sick. Yeah, of course. Why do you think I do it all the time? I'm like, well, but what if the eyes are glowing? They're like, don't, don't do it. But what if her hair was jelly? Yeah, you know me too well. Think of the subsurface scattering. Yeah, exactly. Think about it, guys. Think about it. You're not thinking about it enough. Man, once you put a bit of glow in the eyes. once it's there. Alright, let's quickly hit save. What time are we on? Oh, we got time still. We got time. We need a glowing eyes emote. Yeah, we need a lot of new emotes, actually. We need a lot of new emotes. Someone that's only just starting to try and learn digital painting. This is blowing my mind. I really don't get how you got to this point. Well, firstly, thanks for joining the stream and watching. Very much appreciate the viewership. But secondly, don't get too overwhelmed with it. Like, as with everything that you want to learn, you have to start somewhere, and like in the beginning there seems like so much to learn and so much to do. It can get a little bit overwhelming, but just take it in bite-sized chunks and practice as often as you can. And look at artwork, watch lots of people painting and so on, and over time you will figure little bits out more and more and more. And as you learn more parts of it, things will become less mysterious, and so on. And things that you look at now where you're like, I can't even fathom doing that, you will slowly start to chip away at and be able to do more and more of eventually. And you'll start to get a bit more out of watching people work and picking up on their process and stuff. But I understand it might be a bit like, what on earth is going on? In the beginning, there's just a lot to learn, but I promise you, with practice and some discipline, you can get where you want to go with it. Just takes a lot of practice, a lot of discipline, and so on. And like everyone here watching is all at various stages as well, and can attest to that. But once upon a time, I couldn't do any of this. So if I can do it, you can do it. But yeah, just don't get too overwhelmed with like everything in the beginning. Just do the bits you can do, and do the bits you can understand, and just practice. Yeah, as Calv said, there, it's a beautiful journey. The journey is the best bit. Learn to enjoy the process of learning, and you'll find joy in every day on your journey up to the point you want to be at. If you enjoy the process, it isn't a race to get to the end, to be at a certain point. You just enjoy every single part of it, of learning something new. Your skills evolving, and so on. Wild bro energy. Thanks for the follow. Watch out, everyone. He's got that wild bro energy. Is there something I should be starting with for learning, I mean? Do you know I always say this to people on the stream when I get asked this kind of question. And really, I think you should just follow your interests at any particular point. You're going to get the most out of it if you dive into the thing that you're currently most interested in. So, for example, if that's like you seem more interested in anatomy and learning to draw figures, then you go down that road. If you're more interested in, perspective and trying to understand that, that's the direction you should go in, and so on and so forth. I think as long as you are working on fundamentals, you should just follow your interest. I think you're going to get the most out of it that way. You'll learn to enjoy it that way as well. And you will just kind of naturally flow from one thing that you enjoy and find interest in to another thing that you enjoy and find interest in within, obviously, the field of, artwork, right? Not talking about just generally flowing from one thing to the other. But I really think you should just follow your interest in the beginning. It's hard to motivate yourself to do things that you're currently not interested in. And there are facets of learning digital art and stuff that can be not so interesting in the beginning or at certain points. You could just be like, do you know what? I this stuff, perspective or whatever subject it is, you might just be like, it's not resonating with me right now. And that's fine. Like I said, you work on one thing for a while, that starts to sort of pique your interest in certain areas, and then you go some way down the line with that, and you start to think, actually, now this thing I'm starting to find a bit more interesting. I'm gonna do that, and then you end up revisiting all those things again as well. So you might, let's say you start off with figure drawing, you do that for a while, you're pretty interested in it, you learn some anatomy, you're doing life drawing, you're doing studies, blah blah blah. But then eventually you're just like, do you know what? I think I know what's holding me back in my figure drawing. It's my perspective. I'm struggling to understand how to draw these things in perspective properly because I don't understand that. So that kind of piques your interest, right? So then you go a bit more and you think, I'm going to do some perspective stuff. I'm going to go hard into the perspective. I'm going to learn how that works, X, Y, Z. And then as you're doing that, you get to a certain point where you're like, yeah, okay, my perspective is looking better. This is really helping me with my figure drawing, and so on. But you know what? I really want to get into color. Like, that seems really interesting to me. I want to learn how all of that works. So you go down that route. And what ends up happening, and this is, what happens with me, is that my interest gets piqued at particular times by different facets of things I'm trying to learn, and I just follow that. So if you look at any of the past streams that I've done, I'll be like, oh, I'm doing some 3D, I'm doing some sculpting, and then, oh wait, I'm gonna do landscape, and I'm gonna learn how to do this, and then I'm gonna do this, and blah blah blah. And now I'm back to kind of more comfort zone character work stuff, and that will just keep going and has been going for like the 20 odd years that I've been interested in doing this kind of thing, and you just keep going around in circles like that, following your interest, and you just get a bit better at it each time you arrive at that particular subject again, and then something else piques your interest and you go off again. In that way I'm always doing something that I currently want to do. I think that is really a way to have longevity in the study of it, because this is learning to do all of this stuff is a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. And in order for you to have the stamina to continue to run the marathon, you've got to be enjoying what you're doing. If you are bashing your head against a wall, trying to do something because you think, okay, I definitely need to learn this stuff, but it's just not what I'm interested in right now, you're going to make the whole process a hell of a lot harder and unenjoyable for yourself. And like I said, this is a can be a lifelong pursuit of learning and work and so on. So you gotta pace yourself, and I think the best way to do that is to follow your interest. Like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You don't want to burn out by doing things that you're currently not interested in. And like I said, it's fine. You'll get round to it. You'll find interest in all of these subjects that right now you're looking at and you're like, no, I'm not getting into that one. You'll find a love for it at some point. I promise you that. It takes you all over the place. And that's what works for me, and works for the longevity of it for me, is to do that. If you're like me and you struggle with attention span, specifically on stuff that you're not enjoying, then follow the interest. You'll help yourself. Any advice for someone climbing out of that burnout? Drew digitally for years, still passionate about art, but struggling to get back into regularly drawing again. It sucks to suck again. Totally, I get that. Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, it's tough diving back into something and looking at your current progress in it and being like, do you know what? I used to be better at this. Or at least perceiving things that way. It can be a hard rut to get out of, for sure. I think when getting back into something like that, I think you just have to do it in small kind of bite-sized chunks. Not overdo it. You're not going to find success. I'll say this. I don't find success in like dwelling on something and bashing my head against the wall, trying to sort of force myself into it, right? Whenever I have got burnt out on, working and artwork in the past, and I need to sort of get back into it, I think little and often is the way that I do it. I just bust out the sketchbook or open up Photoshop, do something quick, do something that doesn't require a lot of mental effort. Don't start any big projects. Just, a little thing. Oh, I'm going to do this quick painting of this thing that I saw, or, I'm going to do a quick study of this artwork that I like, and so on and so forth. Just keep those projects small and manageable, and so on. And in some way, keep a record of these things. So let's say you do like half an hour of sketching a day. At the end of the week, look at those things and be like, oh, okay, I actually did achieve stuff today. Yeah, this week I did these 5 drawings. I like this bit of this drawing. I don't like this bit so much, but okay, I did actually achieve something, and like there are bits that I like about it, and take those wins and go with that. And then for me, like for actual burnout, when I have kind of really overworked and kind of really destroyed any motivation I have for painting, that's when I just do something else for a bit. Like, just honestly, take a week off. Take a week off, or on the weekend, don't do any drawing. Go out, see some friends, go for a bike ride, do the other things that you enjoy in your life. Play some video games, start a new game, load up Dark Souls on a new save file, whatever it is you enjoy doing, right? Just go and do those things. Completely refresh your mind, and just, do the other things in your life that you put aside to do artwork. And invariably, when I do that kind of stuff, after a little bit, I start to get the pang of like, oh man, I'd like to actually sit down and draw something again. Or I watch a movie and I'm like, oh, that would be a sick illustration. I would like to do that. And the motivation to come back to it, the draw to come back to it, whoa, hello, starts to come back in that way. You don't sit there just with Photoshop open for hours and hours and hours, noodling and getting frustrated and going around in circles and stuff like that. Like, you won't solve the problem that way. Yeah. And give it, like, it's fine to have breaks. Honestly, it is totally fine to have breaks. You might have the goal of, I want to get better at drawing, and I want to be a professional, and I want to work at this company or whatever. That's fine. That dream still exists. You can take a few days off to reset your mind and get the passion back, get the love back for it. It's not going to disappear. You're not a failure for needing a rest and needing a break. It happens. Sometimes you just got to have a breather, and I'm like that. So if I'm working, obviously, it can affect me quite a bit. Deadlines and so on, responsibility, all of that. But that's when, I'm like, do you know what? I'm not going to draw on the weekend. I'm not going to come to my studio. I'm just going to, spend time with my wife. We're going to go on a bike ride. We're going to make some nice food. I'm not even going to think about that stuff. I'm not going to engage with it at all. And yeah, invariably the want, the desire comes back in that way. If I'm actually working at the time and I'm getting into that kind of mindset, then I just go outside for half an hour, like, it doesn't matter if the deadline's on or anything like that. I can take half an hour for myself, go outside, walk around the block, get some sun, have a cup of tea, whatever it is. Look at something on the internet, just reset my head. Like, the half an hour you take for yourself is going to be enough to get you back on it, and doing stuff again, rather than bashing your head against Photoshop for another 3 hours and not really getting anywhere. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully that answers the question. I think in short, just get away from it for a bit. It's fine to do that. Did this piece start as a sketch? Yeah, I can briefly go through how this all started. Let's turn all this off. Okay. It started like this. Started like this. Okay. Thought of a pose. And like I want her coming forward, arms back, eyes on the camera, that kind of thing. So just scribbling out my major forms where things are. Then I drop the opacity on that down. And then I come in over the top. Again, just roughing out kind of gesture in here, kind of doing a bit of thinking on the page. This is where I start kind of thinking about, these are just forms. But then these are like, oh, I want angle breaks and these particular kind of curves going on, but it's still very rough. And then I drop the opacity of all of this down again. And then on top of this, start going again. And this is where I was like, putting the eye shape. That usually kind of helps me figure stuff out. And yeah, just sort of drawing and scribbling over it, having ideas about what other things could be in the piece. But it's getting a bit more fully formed. And then again, I just drop the opacity of that down. So I've got this kind of, it's like putting tracing paper over a scribble, or rubbing it back with the rubber, and you've just got the faint lines underneath. Then on top of this is where I went in. Let's just make these black for now. I can see them properly. This is where I start to refine and pick up on like the lines that I make underneath that I really like, so you can start to see I'm like thinking a bit more about what's going on there. And then so we can get rid of all these. And then this is where we started the stream basically. And now I turn the opacity of all this down, and I did like the final line work, if you like, which was this one, which again is just like a bit more of a refined thing. We actually drew the hands out properly, and the hair shapes a little bit more, and so on, and that just kind of refines it. Okay. And then what we did from those is we made some flat shapes. So these are literally just flats that they are using the pen tool, basically penning out the flat shapes that make up the character's outfit, the character being this character. Like this. And we have the line work on top, and that was like this. So now we have this, and then just drop in some strokes for the background. This is something that I'll work up later into what it wants to be, but it's enough of the color. And then we go through this layer stack of dropping in the shadow, and then I masked back out through this shadow for a secondary light source. I drop in where is it, this light source on top. So these are my main lights, and then just started building up layers from here. And now we're sort of up to a point where I'm sort of painting on top of these layers with normal layers now, to build up the painting. And that's where we're at. And that is in a nutshell how I paint. most of the time. If you want to know like more about that process, if you check out the YouTube link on the Twitch page, it goes to all the past streams. There are streams in there that go through this process in a lot more depth. And there's 40 streams on there on the YouTube. There's lots of tips, techniques, all that kind of stuff about the process in there. So treat them like a podcast, just put them on, listen to them, and then, you can pick up a lot of tips and stuff. Very helpful to hear. Thank you. Burnout due to mental health stuff has drained energy and motivation for a lot of stuff, and it's hard not to want to go hard immediately again and expect the most from myself. Just take it slow. Take it slow. Take it at a pace that makes sense. Like I said, there's no race. There's nothing like that. It's a marathon, not a sprint, after all. And you need stamina to make it to the end. So take breaks when you need them. Don't stress about sometimes not being motivated and so on. If you like respect your the way that you feel at any particular point when working on this kind of stuff, I think you will end up with more days where you're actually on it. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I find that I can fairly well respect when I need a break and so on, that I'm more often than not in a good position and able to show up, do my work, function every day as a professional artist, because I respect and have the time to take the breaks. I used to not be very good at it. I've got much better at it, and now there isn't too many days where I'm unable to do anything. Like I always have the motivation to do some amount of stuff, and I think it's because I respect when I need a break, I guess. Like in the middle of the day, doesn't matter what deadlines I've got on or anything like that. If I need a break, if I need to go outside for a bit, if I just need to be away from the computer to figure out how to do something, I'll do it. And it becomes much better for the old burnout. Cool to see the progress on this. Looking clean. Thank you. Awesome work. Always really cool to see your process. Well, thanks, Kuyo. That is unreal. First time I've seen someone do multiple passes on the sketch as well, which I like. I will 100% be going on YouTube, and hopefully this VOD saves on your Twitch. This VOD, all of the VODs save on the YouTube. Twitch deletes them after a while, but all the streams are saved on the YouTube. Thanks, Sarah, for the link. That's it's brilliant. Thank you. But yeah, all of them are on the YouTube, so check them out. A lot of useful information there, hopefully. And multiple passes. I have to do multiple passes. I I I yeah, I just don't think I need to put some amount of information down to really figure out what I'm looking at and if like it's the right thing and so on. So I have to do multiple passes. My like I'm a scribbler basically. I really do sort of scribble, and that I'm unable to do things in like a first pass really neatly. I have to sort of do things in stages and do them a little bit at a time to really figure them out. Sorry, I'm just going back through my layers here because essentially I didn't like this area that I'd painted over the hip here. I think the shapes could be like cleaner and more succinct. So I'm just going back and building those up from the bottom again. I went to get a haircut in the middle of deadline, left my phone in the office, been gone for more than an hour, come back refreshed with a nice combo from the barber, had missed 10 missed calls, so glad I left the phone. Yeah, exactly. Just, just get out. Do it, refresh your head. I've said this before on stream, but like I literally never solve the issue that I'm having with like a painting or anything by sitting at my computer trying to do it. I always go away, and then it's while I'm away that my brain is kind of ticking away, thinking about stuff in the background, and it comes up with the solution, to the problem that I'm having with the particular painting or whatever. And then, I'm out and I'm like, oh, I have, like that eureka moment of being like, oh, okay, cool. I know what I need to do now. And then when I come back to the painting, I've got my answer, my motivation's high. I can dive back in. And yeah, we go again. I just realized I've been like chatting so much that it's actually we're at time pretty much. Now let me turn all my layers back on so I can see where we're at. Okay, yeah. Okay, memo to self, I got to sort this hip area out when we come back because like I really like the clean execution of the material in like this area. Yeah, or like the start of it. But here, muddy town. I need to work on the shapes there. So memo to self to do that. Delivered in an hour after I came back. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what I mean. You just get out of there. Go do something. So I need to fix this bit tomorrow on stream. Need a nice, more cleanly shape there, but yeah, not bad. Like I said, back in the comfort zone, doing something I know how to do, designing the shapes, etc. It's been very fun. It's the refresh I needed. Talking of refreshes, so that does mean it is the end of the stream for today. I will be back at the same time tomorrow to stream again. We will continue with this painting. We can talk about more stuff. I can answer more questions and all of that. Stream will be saved on Twitch. It will be on YouTube as well afterwards. If you follow the link to the YouTube, you will see a playlist there with all of the streams on. You can watch them back at any time. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining. It's nice to do this with you all after work. But it's been a long day. I need to go home. I need to eat something. And yeah, I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks for all the new followers. And yeah, have a great evening, everyone. Take care. Peace.